Enter a world filled with adventure, magic, and music. This summer, Walt Disney brings you an epic story about following your heart again, and not letting society limit you again. Be prepared to laugh and sing along as the malnourished mermaid Ariel rejects the archaic act of human consumption in the pursuit of true love. If you are like me, you notice things in harmless kids movies that most people don't. Like the fact that in The Little Mermaid, there is a giant ship graveyard right next to the Mermaid Kingdom, and how there are almost no skeletons in that graveyard. And then those observations lead to questions like, what do the mermaids eat? Why does Ariel look so malnourished? Then the next thing you know, you're explaining to your therapist of how the mermaids in the stupid kids movies are eating the humans from the ships they sink. Ah! Okay, let's back up. Now you're probably typing away in the comments stuff like, but Caleb, the mermaids just eat fish. Or, Caleb, they obviously eat seaweed. I'm looking at you, Carl. There are a few problems with those theories. First, the death and consumption of fish is very clearly portrayed as a bad thing in the film. And King Triton even affirms this attitude by referring to humans as, quote, those fish eaters. So, we can rule out that mermaids eat fish pretty easily. The reason they can't eat seaweed has more to do with their anatomy and nutrition. Now, as you might imagine, it's pretty hard to find factual information on the anatomy and daily nutritional needs of mermaids, since they don't exist. Sorry, Columbus. So for the sake of arguing, I'm going to assume that a mermaid's anatomy is similar to a human's, with the exception of the gills and tail, which last I checked humans do not have. Now, as you might have noticed, mermaids swim a lot. It's their only mode of transportation apart from, dark ant magic. Not only do they swim a lot though, but they swim fast. How fast, you might ask? Well, Ariel was able to outswim a shark, and according to a quick Google search, that shark was a great white shark. Great white sharks can swim anywhere between 15 and 35 miles per hour. To put that into perspective, the fastest a human has ever swam is 6 miles per hour. That being so, I'd say it's very conservative to say that an average mermaid would swim about as much as an Olympic swimmer would every day, and would therefore have similar nutritional needs. What? I'm making too many assumptions? Well, show me the research done on mermaid anatomy, Carl! Michael Phelps, an Olympic swimmer, reportedly ate as much as 12,000 calories per day. So, we're going to use him as like a model for how many calories a mermaid would need to eat. What is life? Now I just need to figure out how much seaweed a person would have to eat per day to get 12,000 calories, and prove that there is no way a mermaid or anyone else could do that. Sounds easy, right? You fools. You would think that, wouldn't you? As it turns out, when you try to look up how much calories are in a given amount of seaweed, you get a wide range of results. This is because there are a lot of different species and subspecies of seaweed. But after looking through enough websites to forever ensure that Google will recommend me seaweed recipes, I determined that there is anywhere between 17.5 to 430 calories in 100 grams of seaweed. This means that a mermaid would have to eat anywhere between 6.2 pounds to 151.2 pounds of seaweed per day to get 12,000 calories. But here's the thing about seaweed. It contains iodine. Like, a lot of iodine. And even though iodine is good for you in moderation, if taken in excess, it can be toxic and can cause some pretty nasty stuff like thyroid dysfunction. The maximum recommended dose of iodine for an adult male human is 1,100 micrograms per day. Taking any more than that is harmful. Even if you pick a species of seaweed with relatively low iodine levels, such as nori, which, by the way, doesn't even grow near Denmark, which is where the Little Mermaid takes place, a mermaid would have to eat at least 44,996.3 micrograms per day to get 12,000 calories. That's over 40 times the daily recommended dose. Shut up, Carl! And can you honestly tell me that King Triton managed to look the way he does on an entirely plant-based diet? Seriously. However, a healthy adult male human has on average 125,822 calories. So a single human can feed a mermaid for days. And yes, I really did look up the nutritional facts of a human, so if the FBI comes looking for me, you know why. But I know what you're thinking. Even if mermaids can't eat fish or seaweed, aren't humans kind of a big jump? I mean, how would the mermaids even get that many humans to feed an entire kingdom? I mean, it's not like the king has a magical weapon that can create ship-sinking storms at will. And even if he did, wouldn't there be like a giant ship graveyard right next to the mermaid kingdom? And let's talk about that ship graveyard for a moment. Despite getting a good look at the graveyard and the interior of a ship, we only see one skeleton. The movie makes a point of the fact that the only way in and out of the ship in which the skeleton was found was through a tiny window. A window that Flounder, who is a fish, got stuck in. So where could all the skeletons have went? Unless they were dragged out through that window by something with, I don't know, grabbing appendages and opposable thumbs, perhaps? So you want to talk about evolution, Carl? Well, riddle me this. Stuff like arms and legs makes an animal less aerodynamic and hard for them to swim and move through water. This is why the legs of whales evolved into flippers. So why did mermaids retain a very specific characteristic that is an inconvenience to them if it didn't serve a vital function, such as dragging humans to their watery graves? And while we're talking about beneficial characteristics, might I remind you that the mermaids in The Little Mermaid seem to be heavily inspired off of the creature from Greek mythology known as the Sirens. The Sirens will lure sailors in with their magical voices that had an enchanting effect on them. Sounds familiar? But they would lead them to dangerous rocks and shorelines, and after sinking the vessel, they would devour the men on board. So apart from the unrealistic women's body images promoted by movies, perhaps this is why Ariel is skinnier than a freaking fish. Perhaps she is really malnourished because she is fascinated by the humans and sees them as fellow intelligent beings instead of food. Congratulations! You have now spent several minutes of your life listening to an adult man talk in detail about the diet and nutritional needs of the mermaids in The Little Mermaid. You should feel very proud of yourself. And if you want to see more weird crap like this, subscribe to our channel because believe me, we have a lot of weird crap.